Broadcast is live.
Says it's live. All right, I switched over on YouTube as well. Is YouTube happy with it? YouTube is happy with it.
It's looking happy.
Yeah, we're good. I was saying that I only just realised you got a League of Legends t-shirt on, just on brand all the time.
Always, mate. Always looking to get in that foot in the door any way I can.
Keep pushing it, you'll get there.
There you go. 4 notifications has come through. You've gone live.
4?
Yeah, 1 for each phone.
Oh, only 4 phones. Sorry, yeah, I thought you meant on 1 phone. Then I was like, what?
Nah.
That would have been interesting.
No, yeah, definitely.
Oh, well, we're here for a Grounded Tech Talk number 8. We've done 8 now, over a week's worth. Wonderful, eh? And for a change, we have a guest. It's Mitch. Hi, Mitch.
Hello.
Or Blam, as you've signed on StreamYard.
There you go.
How you doing, man?
Yeah, not too bad, mate. Not too bad. Happy to be here.
Yeah, man, it's good to have you on. We've actually known each other for quite some time now, so it's quite weird because I don't think we've actually spoken other than playing a few games.
Yeah,
we played Fortnite recently, but other than that, I don't think we've actually properly spoke to each other after all these years.
That's it.
Just
kind of sliding in each other's DMs.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, you're a mobile game streamer. And we're going to talk a little bit about that today in terms of the devices that you use and the problems that you've, the many problems that you've had over the last couple of years trying to find the right phone for that. And still having those issues, man.
Yeah.
We're also going to talk Nothing Phone 1, which we've got right here. And he also has the nothing. Would see we've both gone white.
Oh,
it would have been great if one of us had gone for the
bit of yin
black.
and yang.
Yeah, but to be honest, I think we both made the right choice. So
yeah. Every time I say black one, I'm like, nah.
Yeah. And we've got Adam in the chat. Good evening to you, sir.
Guten Tag.
This is live. Yes, it is live. This is not a pre-recording that we made earlier.
It's not a dream.
It's not a dream. So yeah, we're going to be talking Nothing Phone, and we are going to be talking a bit about the Pixel 6a as well, which we all know has been fun and games on Twitter. Well, even YouTube as well, and all of the tech sites who are very good at their jobs. We're going to be talking about that. So, shall we just start with, as I said, with the mobile game streaming, which I've done a little bit of myself. I mean, we met because we're both streamers. We both stream games. And I've kind of veered off from that, but you're still going heavy on that, right?
Oh, yeah, definitely. Nothing will replace that.
How long have you actually been streaming mobile games so far?
So, I think it all started in the first lockdown. So, I remember having my Huawei Mate 20X and discovering Mobile Legends, knowing that Wild Rift was going to be released soon. Well, not soon, because it wasn't. It was like another year until that was released. So, yeah, I thought, you know what? I'm enjoying it. I'm going to stream it. Let's see what happens. And it's been I'd probably say maybe best of ever since we've come out of lockdown, ever since we've been in lockdown, I've been streaming. So it's been a long time.
So you started off with the Mate 20X, and that phone was a beast.
It was amazing.
Like I really wanted that phone. It was I think mostly because I was missing my Lumia 1520, and that phone was big.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought, but I want even bigger.
Yeah.
Never got hold of it. And then by the time that I was actually looking at getting a Huawei, the whole US ban hit,
Mhm.
and that was it really.
That was my
But how
main
did
reason
you
for getting rid of it.
really?
Yes.
So what did you switch up to after that then?
It was the OnePlus 7 Pro, which was a
Plus 7
nightmare to
Pro.
stream with.
Oh, oh really?
Shocking phone, mate. For streaming, anyway. For everyday phone, obviously, I'm not the biggest camera user anyway, so I don't
Sure.
really rate phones on cameras. If I can point and shoot with it and take a decent camera that way, a photo that way, I'm good. But the OnePlus 7 Pro, for some reason, could not get rid of the option. Every time you sticked it in to do HDMI output, it would charge your PC, which obviously PCs can't charge. But it would give it a goddamn good go, and it would get very hot.
Right. That's interesting.
Yeah, like to the point where like you felt like your fingerprints on your thumbs were just gonna burn off. I could have committed a crime if I kept using that phone. I could have committed a crime just using my thumbs and got completely away with it. I reckon.
Yeah, because it would have burnt your fingerprints off, and
Literally.
you could have been a master thief.
Yeah, exactly.
A man's
Using
in the chat. Welcome back in, man. I'm using a OnePlus 7T. It's so bad just after 2 years for battery and smoothness. That's not good.
no,
No, especially when you got phones now that, I mean, even the OnePlus 7T, I assume is still getting support.
you'd think so, wouldn't you?
Maybe it's near end of life, but
Mm-hmm.
you still expect phones now, especially when you've got things like the Pixels and the Samsungs getting like 5 years of security updates.
Yep.
You kind of want them to be lasting a lot longer than that. So that
Yeah.
kind of sucks.
I remember when the 7T first came out. Wasn't there a video on YouTube where someone was it not Mister Who's the Boss who was grating a carrot with it, the camera bump, something like
I
that.
don't know. I don't know
I
actually.
remember
You probably
seeing it
know
and
more about that than
thinking,
me.
yeah, I remember thinking, Jesus, that must be a sharp camera bump.
It looked cool though.
It did, yeah. It was the
It was the
first
one with
yeah.
the round camera module, which, as Adam's already said, he misses his Lumia 1020, and
Yeah,
I am also a sucker for round camera modules.
yeah.
We've got Adita in the chat.
Nice to meet you, Adita.
Dan looking very egg-like as usual. Thank you, thank you. That's the look I always go for.
It's
In fact, it's a look I can't get away from. So thanks for that, mate. Good to have you in. So did you go in with mobile game streaming to begin with then?
On Mixer, no, I was predominantly a Daisy streamer because there was no one streaming Daisy, and as we all know back then, Daisy was coming to Xbox, so for that was a good foot in the door, as well as Rainbow Six Siege. So
Those games did well on Mixer.
they did very well.
They did very well on Mixer.
Mm.
I obviously went with the route of PUBG, then Apex. That was my
Yeah.
Mixer journey. But when it came to the lockdown, that's when you sort of made the switch to the mobile stuff.
Yeah. I just thought it's easier. I mean, even when I bought a console now, a PlayStation 5, I used to have, just don't have time for console gaming anymore. Something about mobile gaming just a lot more accessible. It's easier just to load up a mobile game, even though there's more moving parts when it comes to streaming a mobile game, I would say. It seems easier rather than having to boot up the console. Just even booting up a console, there's fatigue in it. I just like clicking that power button. I'm like, nah, I'll save it for another day. Whereas your mobile, you literally unlock it, load the game up, you're in, sorted. I'm happy.
Yeah, and the games, as you say, they're not very long. You don't have to spend ages. I know when you stream, sometimes it's like an hour or 2 hours or whatever.
Yes, but that's
you're not
mainly
always doing like super long streams.
If I had a phone that could last more than 2 hours, I would stream more than 2 hours. Obviously, I've got a plethora of phones in front of me, but it's then having to switch. Obviously, some of them don't have HDMI output, some do. It's sort of like having to switch between them. The only one I've found that with real potential would be the Find X5 Pro. Well, Find X5, sorry, just because of how fast the battery charges and how much it actually doesn't dwindle whilst you're streaming. To be fair, in terms of battery, it's a really good phone. To be fair, I really rate
So
the iPhone.
even though it's on an 8 Gen 1,
Mm-hmm.
it's still pretty efficient and you can get through streams quite easily with it.
Yep, easily. Heating issues, there's none. To be fair, yeah, it is a fantastic choice of a phone for streaming. To be honest, I didn't think it would be because obviously I did borrow my manager's Pro, but for some reason the HDMI output on that didn't work, but works absolutely fine on this one, which I have no idea why.
That's kind of bizarre, isn't it?
Yes, yeah. Like
It's kind of
when I
bizarre.
plugged the Pro in, it just come up with like rainbow colors on the screen. Whether my manager's messed with the port or something, I can't see that happening because it's basically an ambassador phone. It doesn't actually own it. Um, it's always at work, so it shouldn't be damaged. But then this one worked like a breeze. So
Yep. Go and show Blam some love on Twitch, boys and girls. He is on
thank
Facebook
you.
Gaming as well.
Yes, split schedule.
Split schedule.
Chose the
He's
wrong
doing
time
quite
to
well on
delete
Facebook
implement
Gaming,
that.
actually. He's done quite well on Facebook Gaming compared to many.
I think that was all down to the lockdowns of everybody else. To be fair, like all the other countries' lockdowns, because ever since that it has sort of dried up a bit. But people have lives. What can I expect?
So PUBG Mobile banned yesterday, second time in India.
Wow,
Brilliant stuff. Oh dear. PUBG Mobile, though, is pretty good. It's actually pretty good. It ran a lot better than the Xbox version, that's for sure.
wasn't there another game recently banned in India? Because I know Wild Rift's not been published for India yet. Obviously, that's due down to Tencent, which I found really weird. Having a world championship without all regions didn't make sense to me. But there is a game. Is it not Mobile Legends or another MOBA that
It
was
wasn't like
banned?
Free Fire or
I don't know if it's Free Fire, but there was a big controversy
maybe it
about
was
it.
Mobile Legends.
I
I'm not
think it might
sure.
be. No, it
Seems to
was.
be a lot of issues.
Was it? I'm pretty sure it was Arena of Valor.
Oh, really?
Mm.
Interesting. So, before you had the X5, and I assume now the X5 is the phone you're just using all the time for streaming because it's working
Streaming,
a
yeah.
treat for you.
It literally doesn't
So
lose my parameter.
since you started with the mobile game streaming, you said you had the Mate 20X.
Mm-hmm.
List off the phones you've gone through to get to the point you're at now.
Okay, so Mate 20X.
It's funny that it's good.
Yeah, Mate 20X, OnePlus 7 Pro. What was after that? So after getting rid of the OnePlus 7 Pro, I was actually the S10 because at that time I was a Samsung ambassador. Not
Okay.
anymore. So I had that one. I was using that one for quite some time. Obviously, I was promised the S20 going into lockdown. We didn't get that, so I just completely cut ties with them. After the S10, what would it have been? After that, I'm not too sure. I'm pretty sure it was an iPhone.
Mm.
I'm pretty sure it was an iPhone. Maybe the XS Max I was using. Trying to think of any other phone that I've had.
Did the XS Max work all right?
Yeah, it worked fine. Absolutely fine. I was probably using that for the best of maybe. That's probably the phone I've used. No, I'd probably say the Mate 20X has probably been the phone that I used the most in my entire for a length of time that I've used a phone. That's probably been the most. It's now coming close to the Find X5.
Yeah.
I don't see any fault with the Find X5, so I plan to keep it. To be fair,
Are you using that as your everyday phone as well?
no. So that's my Pixel 6 Pro.
Pixel 6 Pro.
Yeah.
See, I know you've mentioned before as well that you would love to stream with the Pixel 6 Pro because obviously Tense is actually pretty good for gaming.
Very good.
And the Pixel is pretty well optimized on a lot of games.
Yes.
But it doesn't have HDMI out.
Mm-hmm.
So you can't really do that. I suppose the only way you can really do it is if you're doing like a direct from the Facebook gaming app to
Yeah,
gaming
or
if
the
you wanted to
integrate.
do that.
Yeah, or the integrated Twitch feature that's
Mm,
on Wild Rift.
yeah, but then you don't want to do that because then you're losing
Exactly.
all your niceties of using OBS or Streamlabs
Hmm.
OBS, whatever else. So yeah, so Find X5, solid.
Solid phone, yeah.
You've been fine with all Apple devices that you've used.
Apart from the 12 Pro Max, absolutely fine. Yeah.
Was the 12 Pro Max the one that you had overheating issues with?
Yeah, so it would overheat because obviously I like my games bright. That's the one of the brilliant reasons about Android is it doesn't have something that you can't take the adaptive brightness off. Even if you take adaptive brightness off on an iPhone, it still finds a way to just dim the screen. Whereas an Android phone, it doesn't dim. It literally thinks, you know what, you want high brightness, just have low battery life, but that works for
Yeah.
me.
So, so the super efficient Apple Silicon that people bang on about all the time,
Hmm.
not that great in the iPhone 12, really.
No, not the iPhone
And
12.
it's kind of well known that that particular model is not fantastic
Hmm.
in terms of efficiency and whatever else, and especially because it was the first one having the 5G radios.
Yeah.
People had a lot of issues with that. I think in a similar way to you, but obviously you notice it more because you need that screen brightness while you're playing.
Yes.
But then you had no issues with, or did you have similar issues with the 13
No,
Pro?
so the 13 Pro Max, I haven't noticed it do it yet, but at the same time, because it's a brighter screen, you don't have to have max brightness on. So I
Right.
think that's the way Apple's got around that is the fact that you don't have to have the screen complete max brightness for it to actually look decent and play.
Mm. And you also had, I know you've had the Fold 3,
Hmm.
which I think, did you say that worked quite well?
It did, but it was the again because it being a foldable, it's not quite a tablet, not quite a phone. The devs don't know how. This is what I've got from the dev straight from the horse's mouth, is that they don't quite know how to optimize it for a fold. So they literally just give you the reason. Oh well, it's not really meant to be played on a fold. Our advice is to
The
just go and
Fold
get an
seems
actual
like a
phone.
Fold seems like a perfect device to play a
This is
game
it.
on.
And the Fold actually, when it first was released, showcase footage of Wild Rift on it. So it's like
Oh, you're kidding.
you
Oh
marketed it with
no.
Wild Rift, but yet it can't play Wild
Why?
Rift correctly.
Oh,
Exactly.
that's just bad.
Yeah.
That's just bad.
It's like on all the
And
S8
like,
Ultra tablets, all the demo software in my store has Wild Rift on it. Why would you play Wild Rift on a 12 point? No, actually, it's 14 point something inch screen. You can't even, it doesn't even have control capability. So why would you even do that to yourself?
I, it's just disappointing, man.
Hmm.
Because like, obviously the Fold as well is probably the only high performance Samsung
Hmm.
that we have here. Because obviously the others have got Exynos.
Dragon, that's it. Yep, correct.
So yeah, that's kind of disappointing. It's obviously got HDMI out because you've got
Yep.
decks and things like that as well. And yeah, that's just lazy, man.
Hmm. Very lazy.
That's just lazy, especially when that's the game you play as well. And as advertising it with the
Yep.
game, I mean that's just a kick in the teeth.
Hmm.
So you then tried the S22 Ultra after that, right?
Yes.
How did that go?
Shocking. I have no other words for it. For a phone that is £1,200, you can't run 60 FPS on the highest settings. Yet on a 399 phone, you can have max resolution, highest settings. Yeah, you may not get the highest, the most stable 60 frames per second, but how? What is that? If it's all down to Exynos, it needs to be put in a bin.
But you can play it at a high at 60 FPS, good settings, and
You
that on a
can't.
Pixel.
Yes, you can play it on a Pixel. You can't play high refresh rate on a Pixel yet, though.
No,
Even close
but you
to
can do
almost.
60.
You can do 60. A solid 60, you don't struggle on a
Yeah,
Pixel.
but on the S22 Ultra, it was worse.
Oh, yes, much worse.
Which it does sort of confuse you a little bit because obviously Tensor is fabricated by Samsung
Yeah, yeah.
using a very similar process to, well, probably the same process as an
Hmm.
Exynos. It's just designed differently. So why, if they're going to say that, you know, a game's not optimized for Exynos, why does it work on Tensor? That might
Yeah.
just be my lack of understanding.
I possibly think it's with the presence of obviously Samsung has its game launcher and all its sort of like gamer
Mm,
centric features, but also I think it could be put down to one UI.
one UI always. It's
It
always one UI.
could be one
I,
UI to
I,
be fair.
I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't
Yeah.
be surprised. We'll probably get into that a little bit more when we start
Hmm.
talking Pixel 6a and nothing found. But
Yeah.
yeah, it's so disappointing. I know there's rumors that the S23 series next year is now going to be all Snapdragon. I don't know if it was
Okay.
confirmed or not,
Hmm.
but it kind of seems like they're moving away from Exynos. Maybe they're going to be redesigning it. I don't know why Samsung don't take a similar approach to Exynos like Google has with Tensor.
Yeah.
Why not? They can do whatever they want with it.
Exactly. They got the money. It's
And
I
if they
think
can make it good enough, if they can make it good enough, they can put it in all their devices and not worry about having to pay Qualcomm fortunes for a Snapdragon chip.
Mm.
They can put them in their own phones quite cheaply, like Google does with Tensor. It doesn't cost them that much. That's why Pixels are cheap,
Yep.
and that's why we've got a Tensor chip inside the 6A now. Why can't they do something like that?
Mm.
Why not?
I put it down to Samsung just being complacent and comfortable with being where they are. I think they have been
Yep,
for quite a while.
true.
Ever since the S10, I mean, you've gone from putting a 4K screen into all your models, yet still charging the same price for the S20, the S21, S22. Yes, it didn't have the high refresh rate, but that's back when only the Razer phone had high refresh rate.
Mm,
So they just become complacent. They're sort of taking features away from people, saying, "Oh, this is a brand new phone. You no longer have micro SD." God knows how many arguments I've had with customers against not being able to have expendable storage. I literally have a customer I think it was 2 days ago was like, "Okay, I want to upgrade from the S21 Ultra to the S22 Ultra." Um, no, S20 Ultra, sorry. And I was like, okay, cool, fantastic. And then he was like, right, before we go ahead, expandable storage, tell me about it. It's not accessible. Right, that's the end of the conversation. I'm going now. Literally, that is it. I've had that so many times.
Yeah, we should just clarify as well that Blam here does work in a phone shop, so he's dealing with customers every day. He gets hands on with pretty much every phone going, so gets plenty of experience with that. And like you say, Samsung have been complacent for a few years. I think since the S10 came out,
Yep.
that's where it just started to sort of drop off. We saw it
Yeah.
with Andrew saying their 2K screens. We've had downgrades to 1080p
Yep.
on the main S series phones. For instance, like you say, SD card removal, headphone jacks,
Yep.
pretty much everything possible. I mean, with the S21 series, they went to plastic backs,
Yeah, we did.
and it they just don't seem to be learning. And then obviously we've got them trying to rebrand the Note series as an S series phone just to try
Hmm.
and bump up their S series sales. Probably, we all know it's a Note.
Yep.
So yeah, Samsung. I think you're right. They're just being complacent, but they're going to have a rethink, and they're going to
Hmm.
have to do it quick.
Yep.
They're going to have to do it. I think
Because
they're relying on the foldables a bit too much at the minute as
they
well, because
are,
they're
yeah.
thinking that's going to save them, and I don't
That's
think it will.
that's the only it's the only horse they have in the game right now is being the only one of the only manufacturers that actually sell foldable phones to the West. Um, Again, is it something that the company can survive on when you've got the likes of Oppo bringing in not well, they are cheaper phones, but bringing in the performance, bringing in the reliability of it. Yes, obviously it's not a brand that people are aware of. Yes, Chinese phones still have the stigma of obviously because of a Huawei. The amount I get that daily is crazy and stupid and ridiculous. Um, but you've got the likes of Nothing, again, early company, but still, I would say probably a more innovative, going to have more performance consistency than the Samsung phones, especially the mid-range. Their mid-range. At one point, I used to sing the praise of the A52, but even the A52, so they've even managed to muck up their mid-range phone. How do you even do that?
Well, they've again tried to save money, increase profits by cutting a Snapdragon SoC out of the phones and put their own Exynos in. Which, in all fairness, the A33 that I had, it performed fine when I was using particular apps or playing particular games. It was no issue. Absolutely no issue. I was playing Pokemon Go, 90 hertz.
Yep.
It felt spot on. Absolutely spot on. But as soon as you then swiped up to go home or navigate anywhere, it could take you 3 attempts at times because the phone, it just lag. It'd sort of do it a little bit, then just stop and go back. It was just frustrating to use. And again, we've mentioned it already, One UI.
Yeah.
One UI, and I know people defend it because they're using high-end Samsungs, and I imagine that One UI on a high-end Samsung is not as much of a problem as on the budget range. But I just found it a nightmare. And I found it kind of flawed in terms of the UI as well, just in terms of how it actually looks and functions, you know, having horizontal app drawers and things like that. It just didn't feel very good.
Well, it's like when I tested the S22, the S20 Ultra, because obviously back when I was trying to find a decent sort of streaming phone to replace the iPhone, which I couldn't do. When I loaded up got that all up to date with the new one UI, everything, it was just super laggy. Wild Rift just weren't running at 60 frames per second. It's just like, if this is how, I don't know, what is it now? Almost 3-year-old phone, 2-year-old phone, maybe 2-year-old phone runs with One UI. It's just, yeah, you're offering people what 3 years, 4 years of Google updates, and obviously 5 years of security updates. But who's to say the phone's going to be able to handle it?
I don't know. Like I said before with the A13 that I had for a little while, and I reviewed it. It was almost unusable. And you know, you do have to sort of reframe things because you're coming from higher end phones down to a budget phone.
Yeah.
But the comparison that I made is that a Lumia 520 from whenever it was, when that phone came out, you could buy them for about 80 quid.
Yeah.
That would still perform better now than that A13 in general use.
Yeah.
Because you could really notice it. I mean, you'd like you'd put your thumb on the power button, unlock it with the fingerprint reader, and it would take 3-4 seconds plus to actually light up the phone.
Mental.
The fingerprint sensor was lightning. It was fantastic. But then you're waiting on the phone to respond. And I couldn't believe. I mean, the A12 was the best-selling Android phone of last year worldwide. And I'm like, really?
No.
I mean, I know it's a budget option, but you know, and Samsung do great with these.
As well.
Yeah, exactly. And you still will. Because people want to buy them for some reason. But at some point, they are going to switch to something else if they're not happy.
Yeah.
DJ, how is Samsung mucking up One UI on their own SoCs like it's built in-house? Common sense dictates that it should run better on Exynos. I don't think it's a One UI issue with working on Exynos. I think it's just One UI is terrible on everything. But the Snapdragons are generally more optimized and seem to have a little bit better performance, so you don't tend to notice it as much. That's my thoughts. I don't know if you have any other thoughts on that, to be honest, Blom.
Well, I saw something interesting on Twitter earlier where people were, well, there was somebody who reposted the way to get your S22 Ultra to actually operate like a high-end phone
I did
was to
see
get
that.
rid of the virtual RAM, which would be interesting to
Mm.
see. Because I
Would you
mean,
be able to
what
test that out?
I don't have the S22 Ultra anymore, do I? So
There you go.
yeah,
Too late.
well, it's exactly too late. So, well, to be fair, it's what 5 months too late. So
Yeah, it's been a
um,
while.
it is, but the fact that that's the workaround is to take out and something that they've been marketing as a good thing. It's like,
Yeah,
why even put it in a phone in the first place? Why do you need VRAM? Just put 8 gigs in. What phone needs more than 8 gigs? I mean, I know the Pixel Pro 6 Pro has 12 gigs of RAM, but if you get put 8 gigs of RAM in this phone, it'd be absolutely fine.
I'll
What
tell
is the
you what
point?
though. Like the Pixel 6 had 8.
Yeah,
This 6A has got 6. Has it got 6? I think it might have
6 gigs of
6.
RAM, I think. Yeah,
Both of them are
yeah.
perfect. Like no issue. So I don't know what Samsung do to make their
Mhm.
phones so. I use the word laggy. I hate using the
Yeah.
word laggy because I feel like it's something that just shouldn't happen these
No,
days.
yeah, definitely not.
Especially when you're paying stupid amounts for a phone
Hmm.
in just general use. It shouldn't happen. It
No.
just shouldn't happen. Even on a budget and mid range, it shouldn't be happening just in general navigation. Windows
Yeah.
Phone could run a potato with wires. That thing was efficient beyond compare. It was. It was insane.
IMO
It,
12
you felt
gigabytes of
like you were.
RAM is a sweet spot for smartphones. Doesn't need any more than that. See, I don't even think it needs 12 gigs of RAM unless you've got a phone that has
Yeah,
a Dex equivalent in it. You don't need 12 gigs of RAM. What are you doing on your phone that demands 12 gigs of RAM?
nothing.
Exactly. What does
Nothing.
the iPhone now run on? Is it 6 still or 4?
Something like that. I mean, they were at 4
Literally.
not long back. It's
Yeah.
it's it's crazy. I don't really see much use for 12 gigs of RAM
No.
unless there's some sort of RAM intensive task that you are doing on a phone.
Should get a computer.
I don't know what that would be. Yeah, but
Yeah.
like 8 gigs of RAM on a phone,
Hmm.
going from 8 to 12, I don't think you'd notice.
Nope.
I really don't think you'd notice.
Not at all.
I mean, when you've got like these ROG phones and whatnot, they've got like
Yeah.
16 and 24 gigs of RAM, and you're like, I don't know.
No.
Is that really doing anything? Probably not.
No.
Probably not.
The only way I could see that being a benefit is if you were using your phone as your main gaming hub, by using Discord overlays on it whilst playing a game. Obviously, that to me is then multitasking. But playing one singular game on a phone, that's not a multitask.
Mm,
So
no.
you don't need 12 gigs of RAM for that. And you'll probably find that people don't use Discords on the phone. They'll literally jump into the nearest PC, use the microphone so it's clearer, and they're not going to have all the people in the background that you can hear.
Yeah, yeah, it's a strange one. It's a strange one. Adam. Oh, clicked on the wrong one. Person went from 6 to 12, and it was hugely noticeable, saying that I did also go from a high
Hmm.
silicon chip to a Snapdragon.
So the with
So
chip
which phones specifically did you change from and to? I think
high
6 to
silicon was
8.
a Huawei, wasn't it?
Yes.
Hmm.
Was it? Yeah, high silicon, yeah. The Kira, is it the Kirins?
The Kirin chip, yeah, yeah.
An S10e plus Next dock should cost you slightly north of $500. That's a lot of processing power for not a lot of money. Yeah, I mean the S10e here is still Exynos.
Mm.
Um, I don't know how great that would be. Honor View 10 to Oppo Find X2. I think the Honors back then were a little bit skin heavy.
Yes.
So you might find that the jump from six six gigs around to 12 would have been partly down to just changing to a different brand and
Mm.
the OS being a bit different. I'm not sure, mate.
Mm. Well, there's quite a
But I
few
mean, I've gone
variables
from
in.
6 to 8. I've gone from 6 to 8 and noticed no difference.
Yeah,
When I get the Xperia 1.4, that'll have 12, but I doubt I'll notice a difference on that as well.
yeah. But yeah, going from the View 10 to an X2. I mean, that's going to have many variable specification differences. make it
Well,
think
the
that the
X2 has got the 865 for a start, and the
exactly.
865 is such a good chip.
Yeah. I mean,
I mean, that
I'm
thing. I mean, I've
guessing.
still got. I mean, I just went to pick up my Xperia, and it's actually my
Mm,
webcam right now. So that
yeah.
idiot.
It's clear
That's
now.
got an 865. Yeah, exactly. That's got an 865 in it, and it's fantastic.
Mm.
It's so good.
Yeah, I'm guessing the View 10 didn't have a high refresh rate screen. It's not going to have lack of literally. I think Color OS is a really good. It's a really good operating system.
I'm still yet to use it.
Yeah,
I'm hoping to get an Oppo
it
at some
does
point.
run a lot like a OnePlus, and
Yeah,
obviously it's going to because it is the sister brand.
yeah. And I think the OnePlus, I think color is it Oxygen
Oxygen,
OS is
yeah,
running on a
that everyone's
similar
crying about.
to similar code now. So yeah, that everyone cries about. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. Rip OnePlus,
yeah. Don't take our
as they
Oxygen
say.
OS, please. Oh,
No, OnePlus is dead.
yeah. To be fair, I mean they've taken the alert slider off the new the 10T. It kind of isn't OnePlus anymore to this point. If they've taken Oxygen OS off it
Yeah,
and the alert slider, what is it? It's an Oppo.
pretty much. Just buy an Oppo.
Yeah, I would say
I
buy an
think to
Oppo.
be, I mean, I say just buy an Oppo. I mean, the OnePlus, if it still has the
Mm,
feature, I mean, such as like 4K 120 video recording, that's a very nice feature to
mm.
have, which they don't have that on any Oppos yet.
No, no.
I mean, if the feature set is right for you, then yeah, sure, still get a OnePlus. But
Hmm.
the Oppos at the minute, I feel, in terms of design and functionality, just seem to have more to them.
Yeah, just the sheer speed of literally. I'm just flicking through it now, and I'm just like, Jesus Christ, this is just. It's just a fast phone. And again, it's
Yeah.
8 gigs of RAM. You don't need any more. Again, I'll happily die on that hill. You don't need any more than 8 gigs of RAM.
I keep on forgetting Samsung have been screwing over non-US Middle East customers for multiple generations now. Yeah, we've had Exynos for a long time, a long time.
Yep.
I mean, I had the S10 Plus and I got rid of it partly because I hated the fingerprint reader because it failed so often,
It was, yeah, first gen
and
tech.
yeah, it was terrible, man. And also because it lagged a lot,
Mm.
which was typical Samsung. So you know, it'll be interesting when I get the Fold 3 this next week and seeing how that actually compares.
That's one of the
But
things that really frustrates me still about phones. So we're going back to the S10 Plus days. So I had the S10 Plus when I was in Switzerland, back when I was playing Mobile Legends as well. But that's before I was streaming Mobile Legends. Um, we're still having this issue where you can't charge a phone and play a game at the same time and rapid charge. Why? I remember playing the playing games on S10 Plus and you charging your phone, or even just watching a video, watching YouTube, which is not a monumental task for a phone. Slow charging was crazy. That was the thing that first started to kill my love for Samsung phones, especially
yeah,
me only being in my job for a year at that point. I was just like, why? What is this? Why? It's
I
subpar.
suppose it's yeah. I mean, if you're playing games and stuff, obviously you've got the thermal limitations
Mm.
there, which is why I
YouTube.
love Sony.
Yeah.
It's why I love Sony with the HS power control
Hmm.
because you don't have to worry about
Yep.
charging the battery and getting that extra heat and it tanking your frame rates and all that sort of stuff when you're streaming.
Yeah.
But Samsung don't even really do fast charging.
No. 45
Like it's
watts
not fast charging.
on the S22 Ultra, and it still took. I'd say an hour to charge your phone.
Yeah, big battery as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think we're all very disappointed with Samsung because there's a lot of stuff from Samsung that I actually want them to make good phones because if they did, I would happily buy one.
Mm.
I'd happily run it because it's got everything that I actually want. The only problem is that it's a bit of a laggy mess and we get Exynos.
Yeah.
That's the problem.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's the problem for a lot of people.
Yeah.
And they've just not innovated enough. I think my last Samsung was the S10 Plus, kept it for around 3 weeks before saying nope, couldn't get used to it at all. What did you go from, Adam?
One sec.
All good, man. Fold 3, nice. Fortunately, it's universally Snapdragon. Yep. Indeed. So that's why I'm really looking forward to trying it, Aditya. To see how that performs with a high-end Snapdragon. And if One UI actually feels better, you know? So, it's going to be good. I'll have it for a month, and we'll see how we get on. Obviously, there will be videos, so stay tuned. That was one of the things that did it for me. Blim, I'd lay in bed and watch YouTube videos with the phone plugged in charging. It was noticeable how slow the charging got. That's crazy. So it wouldn't even charge fast when watching YouTube. That's mad. That is kind of mad. Give me a refreshed S10e with a Snapdragon and variable aperture and a tensor. Or even the 870. I don't want the biggest and fastest. Well, to be honest, you know, we've been talking about the 6A a little bit. I've had this for a couple of days now. And I have to say, I'm absolutely loving it. I'm genuinely loving it. And I actually didn't expect to like it that much because, you know, everyone's been talking about refresh rates. I'm not a massive fan of 60 hertz generally. But in using the phone, I've had no issues whatsoever. I know people have been talking about how apparently it's a very choppy 60 hertz. I'm not having that experience at all. I'm genuinely not. I've been absolutely loving using this phone. And so much so that I actually want one. Really want one. And yeah, that's a problem because I can't get one. So yeah, kind of annoying. But if that, you know, for instance, if they had this phone with HDMI out and a feature like HS Power Control with a desktop mode, imagine how good this would be for people, even for like students and everything else. Like, you could do all sorts with it. The power is there to do it as well. So I really wish Google would, you know, look at these sorts of features. You've sold a... We may as well talk about the Pixel 6a now we're here.
Yeah, we've reached it.
You've sold some Pixel 6as already.
Yep.
How have you been finding the phone, and what is it people have sort of liked about it?
So the thing that, well, the one differentiation of going for a Pixel 6 customer or moving someone from a Pixel something to a Pixel 6 or a Pixel 6a is literally, it's all down to size. Like you said in your rant video, you can show, obviously, Kendall Cumbria. No one's going to know what 60 frames per second and 120 frames per second is. When I sell that, I just say, oh yeah, the screen looks a bit smoother. That's it.
Yeah.
But when you literally show them a Pixel 6a, again, every time I've set one up, I haven't noticed lag. The animations are absolutely fine. Every time I set one up, even though I've got Pixel 6 Pro, I'm like, oh, that seems like a good phone to have. I wouldn't actually go and buy another one, but even for that white color with that black railguard, it's just,
oh, mate,
they need to do that on at least the Pixel 7. That is a beautiful design, but
it is beautiful.
But no, it's for people that want a smaller phone, a reliable shoot, and point and shoot camera, which it is. But then when you show them, like, because it's not such a mainstream thing now, on the demo devices in an O2 shop, you will see that there's a magic eraser option on it. When you show a customer that, they're just like, what the hell? So I don't actually need like editing software, or I don't have to send this to, I don't know, my niece or nephew to get that sorted. It's like, no, you can do it all on your phone. And it's because of the chip inside of the phone. It's just a boss phone. 5G, 128 gigs of storage. What more could you want?
Exactly. Like, for general usability and just having the sorts of features that are actually useful for people, just everyday people.
Yep.
It's crazy. Like, I mean, I didn't think I'd use Magic Eraser very much.
Yeah.
When I had the Pixel 6. I remember us going, me and Jackie went to Lincoln for the day. I were in the castle grounds and stuff. And I spin round to take a picture. and there's a bunch of people there.
Hmm.
And for a minute, I was like, I'll have to wait for them to move.
Yeah.
And then I was like, hold on a second. I have Magic Eraser. This is a perfect chance to try it. Used it, and it was just like, it just selects every single person that was there,
Mm-hmm.
delete,
Gone.
and then it looked perfect. Like, there was no real artifacting that you could see unless you really zoomed in. It's so useful. Like, I can see why people would find that really appealing.
Yeah.
And then you've got it on the Pixel 6a because you've got Tensor. Like,
Exactly.
it's mad. It's mad. G-Boy in the chat, loving the Pixel 6a. Hope Google does a flagship Pixel this size or a tad smaller.
I don't think they will.
No, I don't either.
From a lot of what, like, because we get a lot of like Google reps in and stuff like that. They give us a lot of like the DL sort of thing and what's going on and what's going to happen. That's the 6A's territory. They wouldn't step on their toes, because then, like Samsung, this is probably like one of the downfall of Samsung premium phones, is the fact that they just started stepping and blurring the lines between what's a premium smartphone and what's a small smartphone, and bringing out then an E or an FE. So it's like it just muddies the water of what your actual product is and who you're trying to ship it for. Whereas the Pixel has 3 phones in its range right now. Your 6A, which is for people that don't necessarily want to spend too much on a phone, but they want the 5G, they want the point and shoot camera, they want all the features in the Pro phones and the Pixel 6 phone for a cheap price. You've got the 6, which is then for all the people that are wetting the bed about a low refresh rate. Go and buy a Pixel 6 then, you idiot. And
Those
then you got
refresh
the Pro.
rate
Exactly.
wankers, right?
Exactly. I won't swear because my 7-year-old around me. But and then you've got the high end phone for, I don't know, people who actually want the 4K screen. Again, I don't understand why most phones have 4K screens anyway, but that's just me.
It's a fair point. It's a fair point. Aditya, I really want the Pixel 6a, but no headphone jack is such a deal breaker for me. It's a personal choice. Yeah, I mean, obviously that's one downside to the 6a over the previous 4a and 4a 5G that we've had here. I think even the 5a had a headphone jack. Yeah, they've taken that out. It's a shame they've not kept it, to be honest. But you know, Google are also pushing their Pixel Buds. So
Exactly.
it kind of makes sense. They're bundling them with the phones.
If you got your foot in the door early enough, you'd get a pair free. Much better than wired AirPods.
Better than the ones you get in the box, at least.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I'm still yet to try a pair of Pixel Buds. I really do want to try a pair. So not only do I want to try a pair for the listening experience, but obviously, like with Samsung, you have the wearable like app. Obviously, with AirPods, you just have like the quick play and syncing and all that crap. But I really want to see what the Google's actual software is for the Pixel Buds. I'd really like to see that.
Yeah. If you're going to get them, get the Pixel Buds Pro that have just come out, because the A's tended to have a few Bluetooth issues. I think even the original Pixel Buds did as well. But the Pixel Buds Pro, so far, from what I've seen, people are very happy with them.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I'd like to get a set myself. I'm using the Galaxy Buds 2 at the minute.
Yeah. Solid headphones, to be fair, Galaxy Buds 2.
Yeah, they're pretty good. I actually find them really good. The noise cancellation's pretty great. And the only issue I've had at times is that the software stopped working on the phone, where it just totally freezes up, so then doesn't connect at all. Like the earphones will still work, you'll get sound, but then you can't choose between having ambient or your noise cancellation or just having it all off, you know. So that required me to delete the app off the phone and reinstall it all.
Maybe that's like lack of third-party support.
Get it working.
I'm guessing you're not using it with well, obviously not really using it with Samsung devices, are you really? So
that was just with my Xperia.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's we'll see if it happens again. I've only had them for like a month or so. So we'll see how it goes. But I like them. I'd really like something else to compare, because these are the only wireless buds I've had.
Yeah.
And I think the Pixel Buds Pro will probably be the next purchase on that list, since I'm such a Pixel fanboy.
Exactly. Yeah. It's not our fault they make good products, is it? Really, you know what I mean?
I know what people like.
Yeah.
So what else we got here? Adam, I do things for that magic eraser feature on my Oppo. Such a cool feature for phone photographers. Yeah, it's great. It's really cool.
I
Really,
mean,
really cool.
Samsung
Really
tried doing
handy.
their own version. It's shocking.
Yeah, that bad. Eh?
It is, mate. To be fair, it was under the advanced feature on. Was it the yeah? Because obviously the Pixel just came out, and then obviously we was getting the reps around for the S22, so quite early on. Um, and there's like, oh yeah, look, we've got this feature as well. It's like, yeah, but it's nowhere near as good. Look at it. Why are you trying to boast that feature? It's shocking.
Yeah, it's we're trying to play catch up here. We can't do this as
Yeah,
well
yeah.
on device as Google, but there we go. Adam, that's kind of why I like Oppo. You have the Lite for the people who want a cheaper phone, the Neo for the mid-rangers, the X for the power users, and the Pro for the top end. Seems like a good lineup, in my opinion. Yeah, that's for the Find X series. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's pretty good. They do have a pretty clear lineup. But then you've also got like your Oppo, is it Y series or something like that?
A54, A94,
Yeah.
A16s. Again, it's the same route. Yes, they're trying to cover all and trying to get as much market share as possible. But if they're not careful, they'll end up like Samsung
Yes.
because there's so
Which is kind
little
of how
difference.
Xiaomi is, I think.
Yeah, there's so little difference between the A54, A94. The A94 is the latest one to come out, and well, the one we sell in the UK at least. And the only real difference is actually, I don't see people kicking off about this though. That's a 60 hertz screen, and it's an OLED screen. But you don't hear people kicking off about that because obviously it's not a mainstream release. But then again, people just don't like Google, clearly.
If I wasn't this invested in wide audio, I'd gladly adopt wireless audio. But wired is just so much better, which is why the Fleo. Do you say Fleo? BTR5 is my opinion must-have accessory, and the new BTR70 is so sexy. So this is the thing: if you're into like your high-res audio and all that sort of stuff, you can get better. You do get better quality through wired. That's just a fact.
Undeniable.
But
Undeniable.
yeah, wireless is catching up. It's getting better.
Mm-hmm.
You've also got that convenience of having them being wireless. They're pretty great. But like, you know, on a night time when I'm in bed, I use wired audio when I'm listening to music. Like I've got my periodic audio berylliums and the rhodium DAC. That it sounds fantastic. Like these can't compare at all. So you know, it's you know different strokes and all that. But you know
Strokes for different folks.
the wireless ones are the wireless ones are just there for it's convenience. That's the biggest thing about them is convenience. And for me, for like this, just hooking them up via Bluetooth to the laptop, far better than having to mess around with the wire and whatnot. So I find these really good for streaming now. I just need to find something with better battery life than these because by the time I get to like 4 hours on my stream, they're starting to die. And I had one go dead the other day while I was playing Mass Effect.
Apparently, the Black Shark ones are
fun.
meant to be decent battery life.
Hmm.
So I've heard.
We've got Scoop in the chat. Hey, Scoop. Hope you're doing well, bud. We've got Goran in the chat as well, who says, "Hi all. If I had to choose between nothing, A53 and 6A, I'd buy Pixel. Getting more where it matters, but that's between these three. Generally, I wouldn't buy any of them. All have fatal flaws for me." Would you say they've got fatal flaws, or they've just not got a feature that you want? There's actually a higher end feature. Because they are all. I would say the Galaxy is flawed. I wouldn't say the Nothing phone is flawed at all, and I wouldn't say the Pixel is either, in my opinion. They've taken very obvious design choices and gone with specific hardware. I don't think that's necessarily a flaw. The A53, on the other hand, has it has two major flaws. It's got the Exynos 1280, and One UI is a mess. So for me, they're two specific flaws. But yeah, I don't see any. When I'm using the Nothing phone, for me, there's no flaws. There's downsides to the choices, depending on what hardware you want personally. But Yeah, I wouldn't call them flaws,
Yeah,
but
I'd say.
I kind of agree. I think I'd take the Pixel myself. I'm using the Pixel and the Nothing phone right now,
Mm.
and in all honesty, I actually prefer I actually prefer the Pixel. It's terrible. Like the Nothing phone, when you put them side by side and you compare how they look, the
Mm.
size, and the higher refresh rate screen and all that stuff,
Yeah.
you'd think, man, the Nothing phone is so much better. But then when you're actually using it, the Pixel size is just so perfect. The slightly curved screen, the general Pixel features, the camera, it's just so it's so natural. I don't know what it is. I can't really describe. The only issue I've got with the Nothing phone, I suppose we should probably talk a bit about the Nothing phone because we've both got it,
Yep.
and it's we're kind of in that point now. The Nothing phone, for me, the main issue right now is a lack of cases and screen protectors and things, because that's killing me. The Nothing phone, as nice as it is in build, it's quite large. The edges are a bit jagged. The screen is very, very flat. And I feel like I need it to be in a case. What do you think?
Again, this is probably my first and only ever mid-range phone. So when I start
Really?
looking at it as a mid-range phone, it ticks every box. But I've only ever experienced flagship devices. So
Yeah, it's
when I
difficult.
go, yeah, when obviously it's a buy. Aesthetically, this is the phone I'll be rocking at like I don't know i69. Just because of aesthetics, I think it's cool. It grabs people's attention. Um, but in terms of everyday phone, you can't compare to a Pixel 6 Pro or a Find X5. But it's not meant to be there to compare to these phones, just like the Pixel 6a. When you stop comparing these phones to people that review majoritively flagship phones,
Yeah,
it is a fantastic phone. But that's all I have to keep reminding myself is that it's a flagship phone. I'm not used to flagship. It's a mid range phone. I am not used to mid range. I am only used to the experience you get from a flagship phone.
yeah, yeah. It's very difficult to sort of go from that flagship experience down to a mid ranger.
Yeah, on a flagship, you've
But
got
when you
everything you
actually
need.
sort of yeah, but when you actually sort of put into perspective the price difference to how much it actually costs
Yep.
and what you're getting, it's yeah, it's interesting. Especially like now I've got the two main phones that I would deem to be the best mid-range options in the UK right now.
For
Same
sure.
price.
Hmm.
It's very interesting comparing these phones, and I'm going to have quite a lot of stuff to do with that coming up. But
Yep.
yeah, they're so different. They're so different. Like they're both for a very different audience,
Very different.
very different customer base.
Hmm.
So I think they're really good in their own ways. But yeah, nothing phone so far. That's the main flaw for me is just no cases, other than maybe the official case off the store, which is like a ridiculous price.
Yeah.
Screen protector, obviously you've got one pre-installed, which is good. But yeah, being able to get a glass screen protector would be nice. Like everything
Mm.
that's on Amazon, for instance, you're having to wait till like mid-August to get
See,
anything.
this is the phone I would just wouldn't put a case on. Again, it's
I know.
I
It's
don't want to sound like a phone snob, but it's not the price. It's not for me. It's not the price of a phone that I need to slap a case on it. And one, it's 50% of the phone. That is the difference. Is the glyph. And just to even have a I don't know a fingerprint magnet clear case on it would just kill the experience for me.
I think you're right.
Just adding
I really
extra
want
bulk when you
I
don't need
really
it.
really want a glass screen protector on it though.
Just to be fair, yeah, you could throw one of those on because obviously they're cheaper than a case and less obtrusive than a case. But yeah, definitely.
So Adam, talking of the Nothing Phone one, seeing as I want to try one, just caved and ordered the 8 GB 256 gig in black. We were on about this earlier that we both got the white phone. It would
Yep.
have been good if if one of us had the black.
Hmm.
I'll be very interested to hear what you think to it, mate. Because obviously you've got the Find X2, which is a very solid phone still.
Yep.
I think you'll find the performance on both to be very, very similar.
Mm.
I think you'll find them to be very similar.
Yeah,
Even though
if
that
you
Find
had,
X2 does
yeah,
have a bit more processing power.
if you had the Find X2, depending on what you use your phone for, Find X2 and the Nothing phone next to each other, I think you'd see less of a drop in performance than what I'm seeing from like a Pixel 6 Pro or even the 13 Pro Max. Obviously, two different platforms, but um, going from like a Find X2, which is now just over a year old, is it now? To this, which is a
Two.
more up to date,
2 years
yeah,
old
yeah,
now, isn't it? Yeah.
which is a more up to date mid range phone. Yeah, like Dan says, I don't think you'll see much of a difference, especially with it having a
Yeah, I
120
think it'll
hertz
be.
screen as well.
Yeah, yeah. I think it'll be very close. I think it'll
Yeah,
be very. In terms of just general use, I don't think you'll find much of a difference. To be
yeah.
honest, I
So
think you'll like it. I think you'll like it.
yeah, photography and media consumption. So media consumption on this, the speakers aren't the best.
No.
Obviously, on the Find X2, you're going to have some sort of like surround sound on there, with it being a more flagship phone. And photography, again, I've always found the Oppos a bit iffy. They're not as
Mm.
reliable as point and shoot as, say, the Pixel or the iPhone. Um,
The
bit
X3 and the X5s though have definitely, from what I've seen, they've
mm,
definitely sort of improved a lot to the point where they are comparable to other flagships.
yeah,
But like the nothing phone from the photos I've taken so far, they've
mm,
been pretty good. They've
yeah.
been pretty good. It's got a decent sensor in there. Yeah, I'll just be interested to see how you get on with it, mate.
It's like,
Yeah, I know it does look a bit like an iPhone. I get that. Yeah,
yeah, that's one of
an
the whole
iPhone
marketing
12.
thing for it, though, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's that whole shebang. But yeah, with the Find X5, obviously, with it being one of the first phones that ever have its own camera to have its own chip, the difference in quality in photos to a phone that doesn't have a chip for the camera, I'm not seeing that difference. I don't see why that needs to be marketed because I'm not seeing it
Yeah, I think it's the Marasilicon X, isn't it?
yeah,
I know it's
other than
supposed to
the
help with low light in
yeah.
particular, but
Other than that, yeah, literally, other than that situation, you can't tell a difference. But even then, it's very small. It's more a colored, punchy sort of um, low light photo rather than just sort of like a photo that's taken in a dark environment that's then just been brightened. There's a lot of color to it. So if that's your sort of, if that tickles your fancy, that would be the thing you'd want to go for, really.
yeah,
I do have to say though,
yeah,
I like the clicky noise. I don't know if you're able to hear it on the camera, but the clicky noise when you do the
yes,
yeah, I do like that aspect.
yeah,
Little things like that, because I'm a simple man at most times. It makes me happy.
I mean, as I say, I've actually really been happy with like the performance and just general usability. It feels like you're using a Pixel
Yes.
or something like an Xperia, where you've got
Mm,
that bare bones, almost bare bones Android experience. Obviously, you've not got that feature set from the Pixel, so that's not something that everybody wants. But
yeah.
I think a lot of people that buy this would be happy if they're buying it for hardware in particular.
Mm,
I think they'd be perfectly happy with it. The fingerprint reader's fairly solid,
yeah.
and I think it's got face unlock. I haven't actually enabled that, but some people said it's a
It
little bit sketchy.
yeah,
But
it is. It needs an update, to be fair. But then again, the only phone I actually would use Face Unlock on is the iPhone. I've got Face Unlock on
I
the Find X5. That's lightning fast, but I don't generally use it, to be fair.
the only other phone that I would sort of say that it competes with the iPhone was the Pixel 4
Yeah.
and the 4 XL. That was just as good, and I loved that so much. I actually do like Face ID quite a lot as well. I'd happily have that, but I'd like to have it along with a fingerprint reader as well.
Oh yeah, definitely.
I think the dedicated processor might actually help offload processing, yeah, allowing the camera itself to clear data faster. Yeah, yeah. So when you've got all these, multiple layers of HDR processing, those chips do help. Like the Pixel 4, you can tell when you go to something like a a Pixel 5 or a 4a 5G compared to like a regular Pixel 4,
Yep.
you can see how long it takes for it to process that by comparison. So it does work quite well.
Yeah.
How's Nothing OS? What do you reckon, Bon?
Um, Other than the face unlock, which I'm guessing could be put down to the OS, really, the Nothing OS, it's really good. I mean, it is pretty much. If you're not buying a Pixel, this is the closest Pixel experience you get to a phone that isn't a Pixel. But if it's a Pixel experience you want, then you'd go for the 6A or even the 6 second hand. Um, in terms of the difference of what Nothing OS brings to the phone, other than the Matrix font and the glyphs, not much. Obviously, I've got the Nothing
No.
Buds. The main difference between the Nothing Buds and Nothing OS is the like that screenshot that I put on Twitter a few days ago, where you have the little notification bar where your Bluetooth is. You actually see the picture of the Buds, which I thought was really cool. That doesn't happen on the Pixel, and it doesn't happen on the Find X5 phone. So I'm guessing that's a Nothing OS feature itself. But yeah, I mean, just having a calculator in the status bar as well, I thought that was pretty cool.
I do
So
like the
forever
larger
using that.
those larger icons at the top as well.
Yes,
Like
yeah, yeah.
I think that's quite useful.
Being able to flick through Wi-Fi, your hotspot, and your mobile data rather than having three individual tiles. Yeah, I like that. To be fair,
Yeah, I like that.
it's a pretty bright phone as well. When you max brightness, it is
Yeah, I
a
think it
bright
said I think
phone.
it's like 1200 nits or something.
Yeah.
Which actually the one thing the one issue I have with the Pixel 6a
Hmm.
is the screen, but
Yeah.
it's not the 60 hertz. It's the brightness. It's
Yeah.
not a very bright screen.
Yeah.
I have to have it set at like 2/3 of the way along on the brightness
Mm.
slider. Most phones, I'm usually about halfway
Yeah.
for a similar sort of brightness. So it's not a very bright display. I think they really should have had
Say,
something that was brighter.
saying that
But yeah, in
though,
terms of
coming from my Pixel 6 Pro, I've always thought when they release, they're not bright phones.
not
They're
massively
they're
bright, but
really not bright.
I think they were bright enough.
Yeah, I mean, it gets the job. It's probably the same brightness as the Nothing phone. That's a max brightness, so it's probably close to 12 nits. But the Nothing phone actually is brighter, I would say.
Yeah, and the thing is, Adam, it's very basic. Like they've gone for about as basic as it gets, to be honest, right now. But I don't think that's a bad thing. I think it just gives them a very nice platform to build off of.
Mm.
Like you look at something like One UI, where Samsung's got all these various features and things that nobody really wants or uses, and it's just so heavy. It just bogs everything down. Like Nothing have gone for smooth and fast. That's the aim. They want smooth and fast. That's what they've got. They'll build onto it from there. And I think the main focus now for Nothing will be to add software and features that actually differentiate it a little bit. And when we were talking to one of the guys working at Nothing while we were at the event, he actually said that Nothing will be going heavily into audio this year. Now, they've already got the earphones. Does that mean that they're going to be releasing a set of headphones as well?
Possibly.
Maybe the Nothing Head.
Yeah, yeah.
Nothing Head 1. That's what he said. I don't know whether it's, actually going to materialize, but they said they're going heavy into audio.
Mm.
And when you consider the first thing they released was an audio product, and at the event there was quite a lot of artists and stuff from the musical world. I think there's definitely something that will come from that. So we'll have to wait and see what comes next. But yeah, features on the OS side, I think, is something they need to start adding.
Yeah. I mean, I don't have a Tesla to try the experimental features, so unless
No.
unless nothing
You've not
will
got
now
you've
ship
not got
me
a
a
spare
Tesla.
50 grand.
Yeah, I won't be testing that anytime soon.
No, me neither, mate. So, Goran. Zenfone 9 seems like a well improved and rounded phone, not only for camera centric people. Probably they solved the main issue with the Zenfone 8 battery life, improved design, even camera, but 200 more. Yeah, it looks like a very nice compact phone, to be honest. From what I've seen, the only issue you've got from the camera side of things is that the photos and video are very saturated. And that's been a common Zenfone issue. And actually, it's quite similar on the Nothing phone. To be fair, there's quite a bit of saturation there at times when you've got bright sunshine in particular. But the Samsung Galaxies do a similar thing. The A33, when I was in bright sunshine, it really saturated things, and it can't deal well with it. So it seems to be a common issue. So I think it's probably more. I mean, it's got a gimbal in the camera, which is nice. But I think it's more akin to those sort of mid-range cameras. So I don't think you really get in the flagship level of, say, processing and things like you will with a Pixel or even something like a Vivo. So yeah, but it's nice for people who want a compact phone. There's not many compact flagships out there. So yeah, I think it's a good option. It's got a nice fingerprint sensor as well in the power button. Hopefully they'll stick with that design and just keep improving it. One for Blam.
Yes, it is very fast, even if I just do this now. So, yeah, it is too fast. It is very fast. Probably not even a second. I'm not even looking at it. It's unlocking my face. It is mental.
It's super secure.
Yeah, very, very secure.
Super secure.
It's even half of my face can just unlock my phone. So, yeah, it is fast, but it doesn't leave my desk. So,
Competes with the iPhone in Face ID. LG G8. It had both the fingerprint scanner and facial ID and was on par with Apple's. It could work in the dark. Take that, master of my arse. That's true. Yes. Did we have the LG G8 in the UK?
no.
We ended up with like an LG G8 something or other. I think it was available.
The last LG phone we sold as a company was the LG Thin Q8. I think it was.
Oh, the G8 ThinQ.
Yeah, that's the one.
Or Think. Or whatever
Yeah.
the hell they were calling it.
Yep.
I very nearly got the V30 when that was out.
Mm.
That was the last V series phone that we got, I think.
The last LG phone I actually owned was the LG Cookie. The note before it was the note with the little built-in stylus that was the same as a DS. I remember those.
I think back then I think just before that I had the Samsung Taco.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, I didn't. The last LG that I actually owned was the G4, which was the one that had a boot loop issue. Didn't affect that many phones, I don't think. It was a fair amount, but I never had it, and it was such a lovely phone. ULA is in the chat, and we have, as the company say about the updates, three-year Android update. Do you believe the Tensor or the 778 will work well with Android 15? Yes. Yeah, the Tensor even more so, because it's a more powerful chip. But the 778 Plus is actually pretty good. I don't imagine it'll have an issue. I mean, that's only what we're already running Android 13 betas and things. Just over 2 years away. I don't think either will have a problem with Android 15.
I think it all depends on what features these 14 and 15 bring. To be fair, is it going to be something that's intensive? I doubt it. From what we're seeing for the 13, 13 is not much different. Yeah, it all depends on what it's bringing and what features it's bringing. I mean, if Google's Tensor is the only chip that can do the magic arrays, then obviously it's there. It already classes itself as a more powerful chip than most. So I'd say so.
Yeah, I think this should be all right. I think this should be fine. 3 years Android OS. You're getting 5 years security. Oh, sorry, 4 years security on the Nothing phone as well, which for a startup, I think that's very good.
Yeah, definitely.
Jimmy Fire Dragon's in the chat. Hello, Jimmy. Goran says Vivo X80 Pro made the flagship standard for fingerprint sensor under the display. All others look incompetent compared to Vivo, so it can be done. Obviously, yeah. I mean the Vivo one is crazy. It's insane. Like it's a massive area on the phone as well, and it's very quick.
Mm.
That's the way to do an inbuilt fingerprint sensor in the screen. It's yeah. I'd love to try one. I really would, but it looks insanely good, and basically puts Samsung to shame.
It's not hard these days, to be fair.
You might have a point. You might have a point. LG G3, what a phone. Jimmy, don't apologize, mate. You're here. It's all good. Even if you weren't, it's all good. It's all good. Blam dropping to potato quality now. No, it's just because I'm an egg. He's gonna be a potato.
Exactly.
It's
Put it together.
Just, exactly. Exactly that. He's unpotatoed again. That's nice. That's good. So yeah, I think we've covered just about everything there to do with Nothing phone.
Mm-hmm.
Pixel 6a. I don't think we really talked about the drama as such. But I think we're all very well versed at the minute. People seem to have an issue with the Pixel 6a 60 hertz screen. Which, how many times, Blam? Yeah,
I've probably fallen out with more people about the Pixel 6a than I have politically, which is mental. It's a phone. It's a phone with 60 hertz. It's meant like I don't normally get into fights on Twitter, but some of the stuff you're just seeing is stupid, absolutely stupid.
It's kind of crazy. It is kind of crazy. Jimmy, the other person in the stream is Mitch, also known as Blam. He does video game streaming. He's heavily into his mobile phones. He also works in a phone shop. And yeah, we might be working on a little project, maybe.
Possible.
Possible. So yeah, in terms of the 60 hertz thing, I was going to ask Blam. You've sold a few Pixel 6a's, right?
Mm-hmm.
Has anybody mentioned 60 hertz?
No.
I
don't even mention it when I'm selling it because they wouldn't know. Because they're either coming from, I think the last one I sold was from a Sony, maybe, I think it's 10 Mark II, maybe. And then the one previous to that was actually an iPhone SE 2020. So both people.
So we've even got iPhone users switching to the 6A.
Both people not going to know what the hell 60 hertz is. Their phone is even currently running at 60 hertz, even if they knew that there's actually availability for faster refresh rates, because they just don't care.
I think that's how most people will be.
Yeah. If you told a person,
I would be surprised. Yeah.
If a person came into my shop and said to me, which of these phones have high refresh rates? One, I'd probably die of shock. It'd be the second coming of Jesus. But nobody actually comes in and asks. For the amount the techie community like to think that people go into phone shops and actually rail off specs, it's 1 in 100 customers, if that. That's being generous. That's being generous in a northern small county. And I can imagine it's only going to be a little bit more than if you were in, I don't know, like Birmingham or somewhere like that. But no one comes in railing off specs of a phone to you because, one, the salesperson doesn't care. Two, the customer definitely doesn't care about high refresh rate phones. As long as it can take a good photo, you can transfer their data across with ease. That's all they care about.
And that 1 in 100 is the techies on Twitter. They just
Literally,
don't know it.
they
They
don't.
don't
They
know
don't
it.
know it.
And they don't know what normal people actually want from tech.
No,
Full stop.
they just think everybody is wanting the latest and greatest, and if they're not getting that, they're being gypped out of value. But they're not. They're getting a phone that is doing the things that they want.
We've got Sep in the chat. Welcome in, sir. Nice TED talk. Yep, I see you appreciated the thumbnail. A52S Master Race.
Fair, not a bad
In all
phone.
fairness, the last decent Samsung A series phone.
Which was only released because there was a chip shortage of the A52.
Yes. But still very good. I think it had the Snapdragon 778, I think, and
Yeah,
maybe a headphone jack in there as well.
possibly.
So, yeah, still the last decent sound, but it's been replaced with an inferior A53 now. So, big rip. Yes, that's right. It's iPhone 13 Pro Max Master Race. You got it wrong.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
It's always iPhone.
Everyone can afford one of those. Again, what the tech community thinks.
You dissing the Sony blam?
Oh, not dissing the Sony.
We're
It's
gonna have to throw hands here.
just that the 10's never been that much of a good phone, to be fair. So,
Kinda right. To be fair,
the last,
I think the new one is a little bit better, but it's hard to recommend to anybody if they want a decent camera, basically.
yeah. So in O2, the actual price of a 10 Mark 4, sorry, is £465.
Oh, really? Oh, damn.
So trying to compare that to a Pixel 6a, which again the 10 Mark 4 again didn't have flack for having 60 frames per 60 hertz. Which one would
It
you
is a
recommend?
60 hertz screen, yeah. It's
You
6A.
go, exactly.
There's no way. I mean, the only thing the Xperia has going for it there is the headphone jack,
Yeah, literally.
and you know, I think the form factor
Mm,
and the size of it, and maybe the screen quality, maybe, but that's a very and somebody who wants a Sony is not bothered
yeah.
about camera. That's
Which,
about it. And there's
yeah.
not many of those people these days.
Nope.
So it's a difficult sell. I mean, it's not got those hardcore features of the Xperia 5 and 1 series. So you're not, and I imagine you don't get many of those in either anyway. So it's yeah, that's a tricky one. Tricky one. And yes, the S in Adidas stands for Sony show. There's no S in Adidas. Is that the joke?
I'm guessing so. I'm guessing so.
Exactly, you misspelled Pixel 6a. Yeah, exactly. ULA, the Hertz race, in my opinion, is only for hardcore gamers, as it's on monitors. Only hardcore gamers can feel the difference. You know, that's the thing I mentioned in the video I popped out the other day, is the only time I noticed that I'm using a 60 hertz screen is when I'm playing a game. That's the only time I care. And even then, it's still perfectly usable. So, yeah, I don't think people care enough about that unless they are into gaming or whatever else. But it's like people with monitors. Like, how many people are like, "Oh man, I need to get a new monitor. The frame rate, the hertz isn't high enough."
Yeah.
Like,
I challenge anybody to put Wild Rift 60 FPS against 120 FPS next to each other. So the only phone you can probably solidly actually achieve 120 FPS on is iPhone, unfortunately, for all the Android people that don't like iPhone. And tell me the difference. The only time I notice the difference is when you're panning the camera. If panning the camera that smooth means so much to you, you got a problem.
yeah, yeah. Benjamin's camera comparison of the 6A versus nothing phone was amazing. I forget his channel name now. Ben's channel name. Oh my god. I'm a terrible person. I'm going to be doing my own this coming week. It'll probably be not as good, not as be as high quality, but it'll be enough to distinguish the differences on the two phones. Put it that way. But yeah, you should check that out. It's very good. What we got? Do people ask for camera quality? It seems to me that that's all people are interested in. Blam, do you get a lot of people coming in talking about cameras specifically?
Yeah. So you get a lot of people that aren't informed, which is no fault of their own, but they still think that more megapixels means the best thing. It's like my sell of the Pixel 6a today. Her husband was trying to tell her that, oh, the Xiaomi Note 11 Pro is a 108 megapixel camera. It's like, yeah, but wait till you take a photo between the Google and that next to each other, and you'll come back for a 6A, I guarantee you. He's like, no, I won't. It's like, you will.
You will, 100%. And that's
If
that
people
actually
cared about megapixels so much, they would have stopped buying iPhones ages ago, because iPhones have been rocking 12 megapixel cameras for donkeys.
Yeah. You know what's funny about that is I think that's why Samsung are leaning so heavy into these high megapixel sensors, is because they know people are uneducated when it comes to photography, and they don't realize that actually higher megapixels doesn't mean better photos.
Yeah.
You know, if that was the case, you know, you've got all these Sony mirrorless cameras that are like 24 megapixel, and like, oh well, why isn't this phone better than this mirrorless camera then? Like,
yeah,
why aren't they running at like stupid megapixels? Because it doesn't actually make that much difference. So yeah, they need to. But again, that comes down to, you know, you've got all these people that are tech influencers, massive YouTubers and stuff. That's an education thing. I'm not an expert when it comes to photography. You know, I don't think many of us here are.
Nope.
But it's very clear which would win in terms of output from a 108 megapixel Xiaomi on a Note 11 Pro compared to a Pixel 6a. There's going to be some differences there as well, but the 6a is going to give you the better looking shots most of the time.
And most of the time as well, you find with these higher megapixel cameras, or phones, sorry, that the higher megapixels not actually selected. And then you will have a mode to actually select the actual 108 megapixel. And then by the time you've done that, all the features of the phone that you've gone for the camera, ultra low light, telephoto, anything like that, you can't use it.
Yeah,
so you literally
they're all binned down. They're all binned down to like 12 megapixel anyway.
Yeah,
I think it's the same on Samsung's, unless you actually select you want like the full megapixels, the full sensor size. Then you just get a 12 megapixel bin shot. So it's kind of pointless in that respect. Snapdragon 778 headphone jack, 120Hz up to 256 gig of storage. Great phone from 2021. Yeah, I think that's still the best mid-range Samsung to buy. In all honesty. Yep, it's pretty good. Way through my joke, Dan. Yep, you're welcome. You are welcome. If you run Genshin Impact on a smartphone smoothly, does that mean it's a gaming phone? Who knows? Who knows? Maybe it is. If Genshin Impact's run on a smartphone smoothly, does that make it a gaming phone? I mean, damn. There's not many phones that run it smoothly, unless you like turn down settings anyway.
From when I've played it, the only times I've had smooth interactions on it is either on my Samsung S7 tablet or the iPhone Pro Max.
If any phone can consistently run Genshin at 60 FPS for sustained periods of time, you're looking at an anomaly, not a smartphone. I think the X5 that Blam's got can do it. as
I haven't
well.
tested it, but I could easily test it, to be fair.
From what
So,
I've seen from Techspert, I think he ran it very smoothly on the X5. So, yeah, but lover of tech is Ben, yes. Lover of tech, that's the one. That's the one. I thought higher megapixels only means you can blow up the photo and it doesn't look like trash. Yeah, to a degree. I mean, the thing is, you've got all the computational photography now as well, which alters the image. So, you know, if you took a 12 megapixel on a Sony compared to a Pixel, both running 12 megapixel sensors, the Pixel would probably look like it's got a lot more detail just in the way it processes things. So it all comes down to processing now as well, which is why, you know, the Sony is saying that within the next 5 years that phones will rival mirrorless cameras. And we're already seeing that with like the Xiaomi 12s Ultra, and you've got the Vivo X80 Pro. They're getting pretty close to, you know, mimicking some decent mirrorless cameras these days. So it's within 5 years. 5 years is a long time in tech. Long time. Think what we had 5 years ago. 5 years. Back in, what,
we were just selling,
2017?
yeah, we were just selling the Note 9.
Pixel 2. Pixel 2 XL.
That was the phone. That was my phone at the time, the XL.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what I got. That's what I got. In around, I think, November time. It was my birthday. So, think from then till now, like, how much things change. I mean, before the 2XL, photography was very, very different. I mean, the 2XL was such a huge leap.
Yep.
It was insane.
Having the same lens on the back as on the front as well. That was one of the massive selling points of that phone.
It was just nuts. Like, the phone was just crazy. Some of the photos I got out of that, even when I show people now, they're like, damn, like, really? On a 2XL? That long back? Because they've had the same sensors up until, like, the Pixel 5, pretty much. And again, with this Pixel 6a, it's a very similar sensor to what we've had in Pixels for some time.
But look at all the tech that we had back then that hasn't quite made it to this point in time as well, like the iris scanner on the Note 9 and stuff like that. Again, a feature I thought was pretty cool at the time, but now people just thought, you know what, we don't really need it. But maybe if Samsung went down that route, would we be seeing something that rivaled the iPhone's Face Unlock?
Yeah. I mean, even the Lumia 950 XL had infrared scanner and whatnot for Face Unlock. It was pretty good as well. Could use it in the dark, no problem. You could have glasses on, no issue. High resolution and native resolution, yes. Yep. Once you get it bin down to 12 megapixel, it doesn't really make a lot of difference. That's why I used to like it back in the day of the Lumia 1020. You could take a photo at full resolution and then you could zoom in afterwards, crop in afterwards, and you wouldn't lose the resolution. It was a really good feature to have back then. But the pixels don't let you do it. You get your 12 megapixel binned image on your Pixel 6 with a 50 megapixel sensor, and you can't take a full sensor image. It's kind of annoying. MKBHD says you need to buy the A53 5G as well as Tom's Guide, Tech Radar, CNET, and Wired. And funnily enough, they're all wrong.
Yep. Massive wrong.
So wrong. So wrong. Right, we are at the 1 hour 30 mark, folks, and I think it's about time we wrap it up. Blam's going to probably go off and play League of Legends, because that's all he ever does.
Cry myself to sleep because I'm losing, so yeah, definitely.
Oh no, that bad, eh? That's how it usually goes for him. He's usually losing.
They've changed it a little bit for those who care about anything like Wild Rift, so they've changed it to now they have a legendary rank mode, but first you need to get to Diamond. And this is the first season I'm struggling to get to Diamond because so many people that have now rejoined the game and are shocking. So you get an abundance of very bad players. Especially at the moment, there's a function called autofill, and a lot of people are being autofilled into roles that they don't normally play. Again, I think they should be able to play the ranked game without having some sort of mastery of all 5 roles. But that's just me. I'm a bit of a sadist.
This is the thing, Blam, is that all these players, they're not pros like you are.
I'm not a pro. Far from. Far from.
Well, you know, I think you're better than most, right?
Far from. Far from.
Ah, you're a decent player.
After
You're a
watching them
decent
Chinese
player.
players at the esports, I'm
Well,
like,
you know,
you can have it. Take the trophy,
you're better
mate.
than these randoms that you're getting paired with. We know that much.
Oh yeah, that's not
Yeah,
hard though.
mate.
A
Like,
monkey with well, a monkey does have thumbs. A cat with thumbs could be better than most of these people playing the game. So
cat with thumbs. That'd be something.
yeah,
I'd quite like to see that. I really want. We'll just see this one. Really want Marquez to do better. Man is a pioneer at this stuff, but the algorithm and possibly Apple's cutthroat PR have undeniably affected him. I think Apple's PR, from what we've seen over the last few days, has affected everybody. If you don't speak positively, you will be cut off of the list. Full stop. It kind of says a lot, doesn't it? Tells you why all these other media companies and stuff as well are also just peddling Apple. And probably Samsung, because Samsung have very similar methods as well. So, what do you use for streaming, Dan? Can I donate? I do have a... Well, I usually have a link that pops up in the chat to do with my Ko-Fi. That's probably the best place to do it. It's ko-fi.com/ground attack.
I always thought it was coffee.
Ko-Fi, coffee. I don't want to say coffee because, like, it's hyphenated for a start, and I hate coffee. So
I suppose if you take it
know.
on the principle of how lo-fi is pronounced, then it would be ko-fi. But that sounds like a really weird accent way.
Yeah,
of
you
saying
don't want to call
coffee,
it loffy.
yeah, I'll have a
Loffy don't
coffee.
sound so good.
It's like a Birmingham version of how to say coffee.
Ko-Fi.
Coffee.
That's not even a good accent. That was terrible. Oh my god. I should be embarrassed, but I'm not. Dan, I thought you had more. Dan, I thought you had more subs than me. Your video is clean, mate. Oh, thanks, man. I'm using my Xperia. I'm using a phone. Works very well, and I'll take it off the tripod shortly, and it will have lost probably about 1% battery life. So yeah, smashing. And it won't have damaged the battery health at all. It's not using it direct from the battery. It's very, very good. And that's a 2-year-old Xperia. So yeah, not bad at all. So right, we're gonna leave Xperia Master Race indeed. Yes. So we are going to leave it there. Blam, thanks very much for popping on, man. You're the first guest that I've had on the Granite Tech Talk. Maybe we'll get more on in future.
Yeah, definitely.
We'll have to get you back on. We'll have to get you back on as well, for sure. And
enjoyed it.
as I said, we are working on a little project. We'll have more on that in future. But where can everybody find you? I know Aditya already linked your streaming platforms.
In terms of
With,
social
Twitch and
or my thoughts, it's Twitter. And then main streaming at the moment is a schedule between Twitch and Facebook gaming.
What games are you playing at the moment? There's one? I think there's one game that you play. I can't remember what it's.
I can't remember the name of it.
I've seen it
anywhere in
somewhere.
the stream somewhere. It's it's a game that you probably never heard of. So
Not a popular one then.
no, it's one of these BTEC games. I'm still testing it.
Oh right, right. They're still testing it on the Galaxy Fold anyway.
That's it.
So yeah. Well, thanks a lot, mate. Guys, I will see you all next week. I'm not sure what I'm going to talk about next week yet, but we'll have the Fold 3 in the house, so we might have to talk about that a little bit and more pixel goodness and whatnot. But until then, you can find us both on Twitter and wherever else. Thanks very much for hanging out, and we'll see you soon. Take it easy.
Bye.
Bye.